Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making some wooden whistles. Well, it's another fun little project, and it's a simple one, and it's also a great one, again, for using up scraps, and a great one to get the kids involved with. And all it takes is some smaller pieces of 1/2 inch thick material and some small pieces of 1/8 thick material. Now I'm going to be making 2 of these whistles at the same time, so you're going to see me duplicate a few things, but try not to get confused. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to place a center line on our board that will give us a reference point for everything else to work on. So for this here, I'm putting that center line at 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the board. Now that center line will be the one that we use to mark out our circles. And the outer diameter of the round section of the whistle is going to be 1¼ inches in diameter. So what you want to do is set up your compass to draw an 1¼ inch circle, or if you have a circle template, you could use that as well. But draw your outer diameter of the circle at 1¼ inches. And we might as well draw them both out, seeing we're doing 2. There we go. The next thing you want to do now is draw the inner diameter of the circle, and that will be a circumference of 1 inch. The next step is to draw the top line of your whistle. And in this case, for me, it's 1 3/8 inches from the bottom of the board, so I can just mark it fairly easily. If you don't know the dimension or you didn't use specific dimensions, just put a square on the edge here and draw a line from the top of the outer edge of the outer circumference of your circle across in a straight line, and you'll get the top of your whistle. Now that you have this top mark of the top of your whistle, you need to come down 1/2 inch, and that will be the thickness of the area that you blow into. So place that mark just like you did with the top mark, and there will be the 1/2 inch mark there. Now just double check. That will be for the mouthpiece of your whistle. And you can already see we're starting to get a whistle shape happening here. Now that we have that 1/2 inch piece marked, we're going to come up 3/16 of an inch from the bottom of it. So 1, 2, 3/16, and draw ourselves a line across there. And what this is will be the bottom edge of the inside of our whistle. The last thing that we need to draw on here is our 60-degree angle, which will give us the ability, or give the whistle the ability, to actually blow. It causes, when the wind moves around inside, it's what creates the whistle. So we're just going to mark it here. The actual position is not very imperative at this point in time, because we're going to be adjusting for the sound afterwards once we get these pieces cut. And I know this may be a bit confusing right now, but hopefully it'll all come together. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to drill out a through hole of our 1 inch diameter in the center of both of our whistles. Now the next step after these center holes are drilled is we're going to take it over to the scroll saw, and we're going to cut the outside diameter of the entire whistle. You just want to be careful here where we've got some extra lines, being that line that was 3/16 of an inch up, and our center line. You want to make sure you're cutting on the right line. So carefully cut the outer diameter of all of the pieces. While you're at it though, you may want to do an inside cut from here back and do that angled cut there to get a good crisp clean line here on the inside of the circle. That's what you need, a good clean sharp crisp corner here. So let's get these cut out. You now want to take your pieces that you've cut out on the scroll saw, lay them down on your 1/8 thick material that I told you were going to need, and we're going to trace around the outer diameter, and what this is going to be is our caps or our body caps for this thing. So just do a rough tracing, and then once you get these traced out, cut them out at the scroll saw. You're going to need 4, 1 for each side of the whistle. If you're only making 1 whistle, you're going to need 2. So just trace them out and cut them at the saw. And there we have the end caps. I may have confused you a little bit by saying you need 4, but you need 2 per whistle. I'm making 2 whistles, so I need 4. And they go just like this around our whistle. The next step that you want to do is this line that you place 3/16 of an inch above this bottom lip. Take it over to the scroll saw and cut that line so that this piece separates, but don't get rid of that piece. We need it. And there we have these pieces separated. Now, what we're going to want to do is take this piece. You see the orientation here with the inside of that circle there. Well, we're going to flip this over so that we have the flat edge right here, and we're going to sit it just like that. Then we're going to put our whistle together. We're going to temporarily hold it in place just like this, and we're going to leave roughly a 1/16 of an inch gap between the bottom of our whistle here and the piece that we just flipped over. And what we're going to do is we're going to blow into our whistle and adjust this piece front to back just like this until we get a satisfactory sound. And when we're happy with the sound, we're going to mark where that piece goes with a pencil, and we're going to glue our whistle together. Okay, I kind of like that sound there, so I'm just going to take a pencil and mark where that piece goes. And now we can glue it all together. We have the whistle partially glued together, and I'll just caution you that you want to go a little easy on the glue. Just be careful of the squeeze out. You don't want to get too much on the inside of the whistle. So once you have it looking like this, glue the other side cap or the body cap on here, and then we can move on. Now that they're all glued and clamped up, you want to sit back and let them dry. Don't go messing around with them. Let them dry up completely, and then once that's done, we're going to get into the shaping, and we need to trim the end of the whistle off. We'll get into it once they're dry. Now that the whistles are dry, we can unclamp them, and we're just going to use a combination between the small disc sander and the belt sander to sand all of these edges flat and flush so that the outside shell is flush with the inner body. And then once we're done that, we're going to do some trimming on the end of this whistle. Now that the sanding is done and you have the outer shells matching the profile of the inner body, You want to set your stop on your miter fence on your table saw to 2 3/8 of an inch, and you want to cut these whistles to their final length by lopping off the end of the whistle. And the very last step in all of this is to give the whole whistle a good sanding and take off all of those sharp, crisp edges. You know, round it all off, make it look nice and pretty. And there you have it. Wooden toy whistles. Guys, once again, a fun project and great way to use up scrap. And a great way to get the kids involved. This really isn't anything dangerous or any kind of crazy tools you're using. Perfect to get the young ones in the shop and get them interested in the craft that you already are interested in, so we can pass it on to the future generations. A lot of fun doing these, guys. The one thing I will say is once you've got them finished, I wouldn't leave them bare wood. If you intend to give them to a child or let them play with it, or even an adult for that matter, get some sealer on this. Some varnish, a few coats of varnish would work perfectly. Try to get it on the inside as well if you can, just to seal it all up and prevent any problems like moisture getting into the wood and swelling it up and that sort of thing. Also, with these particular ones, there is no P on the inside, which changes that airflow and gives it that classic kind of cop whistle feel or sound. You can add a little wooden ball bearing in there, like a wooden bead or that sort of thing. Something round and light that can spin around in there, break up the airflow, and give it that classic sound that we're all so used to hearing. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. I hope you've enjoyed the project. I hope you're going to try it for yourselves, and I hope you're going to join me again next week for yet another woodworking video.